Welcome back to my channel. I'm Kevin, and for today I have a good idea. I thought it'd be fun to take a caller. So, the lines are open. Let's take the first caller. There we go. We got our first caller. Hello.
Hey, babe.
Hey, babe.
How are
Okay.
you?
Good. Let's turn the camera so the angle look better. Perfect. Wait, let me turn it this way. So isn't that a coincidence, eh? First caller is my wife Pam.
Of course.
Okay, let me get
Always
the
number one.
number one, of course. Let me get the angle right.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, before I left this morning, I had asked you. I said I'm going to pretend to take a caller, and then you're going to call in and you're going to ask me something. But when I left, I said, just think about something in our relationship that might have made a difference, or just something that you think, as far as the health and wellness industry goes, something that just comes to mind. What's the first thing that comes to mind? So what was the first thing that, or out of all the things that you might have thought of, what's something that you want to ask?
I mean, there's definitely a bunch of things that you taught me, but the one thing that comes to mind as maybe a top priority is sleep. So, do you remember when we first started dating? I kept saying, "Oh, I'm a light sleeper," you know. So, I'm a light sleeper. I like my sleep. So, not a morning person, whatever it was. But in the end, it's just because I really didn't know how to sleep, period. Because as time has proven, I'm a deep sleeper and I could go through an entire night and not know what's going on around me. And it's just really because I did not know what proper sleep was. So I think that's like a very big game changer that if people were just a little bit more conscious about and a bit more aware on the do's and don'ts and what helps sleep and what actually uh, is detrimental really to the quality of sleep that we have. I think you have a lot of good tips to share.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember the day specifically. I remember
Do
you
you
were,
do you remember the turning point?
no, well, I remember when you were at your brother's house. And so basically, what happened was Pam, my wife, who wasn't my wife at that time, but she was at her brother's house, and then uh, whatever, like little
Like a
family.
stressful event.
Yeah, but like little family drama, like nothing that big, just like ugh, like annoyance. And then she came over, and and I was just like, okay, tonight you just need a good sleep. Like a good sleep is so powerful. And then we'll talk about what we did. But the next morning, like you drugged me in a funny way, not like in a bad way. Where like, what's going on, Kevin?
Yeah, I
You just
just did not know what hit me at all. I was just like, what happened that night?
yeah, I know. And then ever since then, I think that it's fair to say we're not perfect, right? So during my during school, for me, this would also be a very busy time for Pam. Like every day is pretty much busy for Pam, but because I'm very busy during that period, we would tend to want to enjoy that moment before bed. So sometimes we'd go to bed late, or we would have a little snack late, or we would just enjoy like being together at the cost of sleep.
Mhm.
But that being said, I think it's a very honest thing for me to say that we do prioritize as much as possible our sleep. So that
Now we do, yes. Now
now
we
we
do.
do,
From
yeah.
the
But
schedule to the habits to the wind down, the patterns, it's everything. So I really think that there's really good content that's like in your brain that you just need to share with the world because it's for me it was gold and it was a big game changer in my life.
nice, nice. So yeah, I'll go ahead and elaborate on those little things. Thank you for the
Awesome.
caller. What a treat today.
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise. It wasn't even planned. All right, babe. I'll see you
Well,
later on, all right?
sounds
All
good.
right.
Have fun.
Take care, babe. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right, awesome. So everything that Pam just said, that's 100% a real story. That's completely honest. And when it comes to sleep, this was a huge important for both of us, but it was really important for me before I even met Pam. It's just something that I started to prioritize immensely in my life. When it comes to sleep, I think most of us think that it's something that we just simply assume that it's supposed to happen very naturally, right? When we were a kid, we just go to bed. We didn't have to think about, routines, lighting, devices. I mean, I'm 39, so I could tell you for sure I didn't have to think about devices that I was on before bed. But now, as I got older, I started to feel the importance of sleep. That could be from this some slightly unwanted weight gain or some anxiety and stress in my life that didn't seem valid. We all have anxieties and stress, but sometimes I just felt like why do I feel a little bit uncomfortable? Memory, because I'm in school, I was in school, and it's a very intense program, and you're trying to take in as much as possible. At my age, I need everything. I need as much on my side as possible. So we come to sleep, and that's just a couple of things that have helped me. But sleep could really be helpful for regulating, our hormones. It could be, and just help regulating our hormones. Just that is enough to talk about everything from weight gain to anxieties and stresses, and it could be anything. Hair loss. It's just crazy because our hormones are really it's everything. They're little cascading mechanisms in our body. I digress. That could almost be a tangent. So Pam talked about coming over to my place that one time where she was just feeling a little stressed after being at her brother's house. And like I said, it was nothing that we don't all experience as family. It is what it is. So in this situation, she came over and I said, you need a good sleep. That's what we're going to focus on. We don't have to talk too much about what happened because family's family. It is what it is. But let's just focus on good sleep. So what we did in that moment, there was a couple things. One, I gave her some ashwagandha. Two, I gave her a chamomile tea. Now, most people might not know about ashwagandha. This is something that I had started taking sometimes about 4 years ago when I was dealing with a lot of stress. I didn't want to go the pharma route. Nothing against it. I mean, I have some things against it, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to start prescribing myself, even though that happens. I just really wanted to see if I could go a more homeopathic route, I guess you could say. So I did some research on ashwagandha, and from what I had read and from the studies that have been done, it seemed that it was a very powerful tool to help promote homeostasis, help promote a balance in our body, specifically when it comes to the hormone cortisol. So whenever we have cortisol is very important. I feel like often it's made to be the enemy, but it's really not. It's just that when it's out of whack, it could be the cause, or at least one of the aspects of us not feeling great, right? Because cortisol is important for, dealing with inflammation, in a sense that sometimes we get hurt and we might have like a surge of cortisol. So it's a responder to stressful situations, and that's a good thing. First thing in the morning, will typically have a spike in cortisol, and that could get us awake. That's a good thing. But when it gets out of hand, without getting too sciencey, it could kind of be this loop that is overall going to just cause a lot of irregularities in our body. I'm really trying to simplify it as much as possible. So it seems that ashwagandha is really beneficial for creating that homeostasis, that balance to where it should be. So when we take it morning or night, I think there's different benefits in that. Most people will take it at night because they're looking to get a better sleep. So in Pam's situation, I was like, you know what? Let's just take an ashwagandha. That was one. I knew that it would help her just kind of take it down a notch. It has this type of sedative feeling to it. Nothing too over powerful, but still, it's something that it feels, you could kind of feel it kicking in and taking a little bit of a load off, as we'd say. And then chamomile, we've known forever that she took it in a tea. It just was a little bit better to get into that state of mind where she wanted to start to relax. Now, that was that specific time. So in that moment, I also dimmed all my lights. I have my whole place set up with hue lights and other controllable lights. And what I would do is I would start to set everything down to like an amber color at about, let's say about 15%. So there's still light if we had to get up to go to a washroom or whatnot, but it was a lot more dim. Now, the lighting for me was very important because I thought that this would be the best chance of, I don't want to say like hacking my circadian rhythm. I don't mean that, but in a sense of really playing with my circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is whenever we see the sun come down, it tells our body, hey, it's dodo time for bed. And when we wake up in the morning, we see the sun come up, and this says, hey, time to wake up. So the circadian rhythm at night, what happens is when we start to feel this, it stimulates us in a way that it signals to, I believe it's the pituitary. Feel free to correct me, but nonetheless, I believe it's the pituitary. And then what that will do is it will secrete melatonin. We've heard that. I'm sure almost everyone's heard about that word, melatonin. So it will secrete melatonin in our body, and it will say, dodo time. That's the seeing the sun come down, that amber color. And then when it comes to seeing the sun come up, this has a stimulation effect on cortisol. So all of a sudden we feel the cortisol come up, a little bit of a spike, and this gets us up. So coming back to topic, the lights, I dimmed them to amber. So I figured it wouldn't hurt, but let's get into that kind of that zone, get the eyes feeling a bit fatigued. Now she was stressed. So in a stressful situation, typically what we'd want to do is distract ourselves. So we turn on Netflix, and then we start our distraction, and then we start to feel better. But we're kind of ramping ourselves back up. There's some light hitting us in the eyes. There's the stimulation of maybe like an exciting story. And yes, you might be distracted, but you're not really calming yourself down, which is what you want to do before bed. So in Pam's situation, she came over. I gave her some ashwagandha, some chamomile tea, simply chamomile, dimmed the lights, and then I put on a story, like an adult story time, which you could find on Spotify or on like different meditation apps like Calm or other things too. Like sometimes, even today, sometimes I listen to like saint stories, like it's about like saints, and you listen to it and it's calming, it's nice, it's not ramping you up. And you just listen to it. You put it on a timer for it to go off in like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, maybe even 45 minutes. And you just allow yourself to get out of your way. So the next morning when she woke up and she's like, "You drugged me. What did you give me?" In a very humorous way. And we're laughing. I'm like, "I didn't give you anything." She's like, "What the heck?" She's like, "That's the first time. I think I drooled." We weren't married then, right? So still early in the relationship. And I told her, I said, I'm just trying to get you out of your way. So what I mean by that is sometimes we have to actively get into sleep, if that makes sense, right? So we're just thinking about what things could we do. In no way, shape, or form am I promoting these things, especially when I'm going to start talking about things like ashwagandha. I'm not promoting them. I'm talking about personal experience. I would always recommend anyone out there who is thinking about taking certain sleep aids to do an abundance of research. Just get on PubMed or Google or even Google Scholar. Just get up there, get on it, even ChatGPT, and search and see, do you have any contraindications? Is there anything that you should know about? Maybe you have low blood pressure, things like that, that maybe you might want to stay away from these things. For ashwagandha, it's not something I would take all the time, but it's not something I would take once. I would look at my schedule, and let's say I had like a lot of stressful things coming up, or I just felt overall stressed. I wasn't aware, and then it kind of hit me. I'd give myself like a time period. Let's call it a month. And I would take a certain dose at night for me for a month, and I would allow it to cumulatively help me. Cumulatively? I don't even know if that's a word, but I would allow it to help me as I believe it has a compounding effect, especially if we're working at bringing our cortisol levels down to what I guess we would call a normal level or normal response to what we're going through. And then there are other things along these years I've introduced to her, and I've shown her how we could do or take other things that could benefit us overall when it comes to wrapping up our day and easily falling asleep, which she has no problem anymore. We go to bed and she's like, I'm out. I can't. And I can't stop her. It's a beautiful thing. When someone could just go to bed like that, it's great. Then if I wasn't taking ashwagandha, which I don't do the majority of the time, it's always in the cupboard, but it's not really my go-to. My go-to would be L-theanine. L-theanine I find is a very, very nice one because it's extremely subtle. I feel no sedative effect. It's been years that I would take it. And let's say I had an exam coming up, or I had some studying sessions kind of booked in my schedule. I might have a coffee, as I would typically do around, let's say, 11 o'clock. And then I would take an L-theanine. And what that would do for me is it would help me stay calm, but I wouldn't feel that sedative effect I would feel from ashwagandha. But we're talking about sleep. So I digress and right back on topic. You see, I have tangents. Gotta keep my brain. Okay, so L-theanine at night, I love it because it doesn't make me feel like, it doesn't make me feel unnaturally tired. I don't like that. I don't like feeling out of control. I don't like feeling like, and go to bed, and then you just kind of pass out. I like to get into it with a nice easing into my sleep. And I like this because I feel when I wake up, I feel overall more rested. So L-theanine I would take usually right when I'm about to take my dog for a last little walk. Usually it takes like 5 minutes. I just take him out to do his business. And I would take the L-theanine right away. And then I'd come in, take a shower, usually a warm shower, help me relax. And then get to bed. I turn on a little sleep story, like 99% of the time, and I go to bed. And that's really the sleep pattern we did. It's not rocket science. So if I recap everything I just said specifically about sleep, we talk about ashwagandha. That's a cortisol topic. We talk about L-theanine, so naturally found in a lot of green teas. L-theanine, a non-sedative but nonetheless relaxing effect. We talk about chamomile tea. There's other teas out there like sleepy teas, and they might have other things in it like skull cap, which is another. It's derived from some herbs. I guess the herb is actually called skull cap. I'm not too sure about that, but I think it is. And that will also have a sedative, quite a stronger sedative effect. But we didn't talk about that, and I don't really want to go into that too much. And the lights. Really, if you take out the L-theanine, the ashwagandha, and all that, and you just stick to the lights and you don't stick on your phone right before bed, I think that's strong enough. And we can't expect change right away. Now, without getting into it too much, coffee has a big correlation to our sleep, but we know that. That's not rocket science. Not me, we have those individuals, we know them out there. Even it might be you listening, and be like, not me, I could have a coffee right before bed and I sleep all right. Yeah, you may sleep all right, but if you're sleeping all right with coffee before bed, imagine how good your sleep would be without that coffee. In spite of that coffee, you're sleeping good. You could be tapping into a whole other world. And then we have eating. We don't want to eat before bed. We typically don't want to eat before bed because this is kind of having you digest and it might help you. A lot of people like to have a snack before bed. It feels that they, get into that. It puts them to bed. I think it's just the crash. I feel like we have a little bit of a crash, be it blood sugar or insulin, and it just comes down and it brings you down with it, So I find that if I eat or drink, regardless, I have to wake up during the night to go pee, or more often. I don't typically wake up during the night that often. So no snacking right before bed, especially no carbs, no alcohol. Alcohol is a sedative, and it will help you go to bed, but it just ruins my sleep. It just ruins. Even if I take a good couple of drinks and I pass out and the next day I was like, whoa, I was out. The quality wasn't there. Be it like REM or some other aspect of where the brain waves get into as far as our sleep goes. It just, I don't know. It seems to affect the quality of my sleep, which I don't think I have the education, or at least I can't grasp that knowledge right now. But for sure, alcohol affects my sleep. So to finish this, ashwagandha or L-theanine, I think are great, in my opinion. Dimming the lights is so much more powerful than I think people realize. Staying off your devices, just stay off them. Just stay off them. They're so addictive. I totally know. And at times I'm a hypocrite, but just stay off them. It'll pay off. Listen to a little bedtime story with an automatic timer. I really believe that most of us will just drift off to Dodo land. For next time, maybe not next time, but soon, we're going to be talking about helping our stress levels. That's a topic for another time. So until then, I hope you all have some good sleeps, some nice Z's. What's the Sandman? I don't know. Anyways, get your rest, and I'll see you next time. Take care. And as always, thank you. Don't be afraid to subscribe. Bye-bye.